Hey Dan.
Hi.
All right, guys. So this is a private video for the Creation Oasis. I wanted to shoot this after I had some amazing advice from Danielle, my girlfriend, my amazing girlfriend, yesterday, and I thought that it would be very, very awesome for you guys to hear it straight from her mouth. Welcome to the studio, my office.
Thank you.
So, Danny, you have just been through a launch of your course. Danielle sold out her entire course, which was awesome. And also, she's signed up loads of one-on-one clients off the back of it as well, who were upsold onto a higher ticket offers. And Danielle's Instagram approach, she's got a really solid, engaged following on Instagram. But the main source of traffic for all of her sales is not necessarily what you might expect it to be. So when people talk about Instagram strategy, a lot of people talk about creating posts, creating sales videos, creating thoughtful content, thought leadership content. While that stuff is all important, there's a little secret, and that's what Danielle's going to talk about today. And it's probably not a massive secret because everyone knows about it, but when she told me about this, I was like, okay, yes, that makes sense. So, it's basically Instagram stories. So, Danny, why don't you just tell us a little bit about how you approach stories and how that was the driving force for, people booking calls with you and everything like that? Like, how do you approach Instagram stories and how did you sell out your program?
Thanks. So the thing with Instagram stories, everyone knows them and uses them, but I kind of feel that they're an underutilized and underrated piece of Instagram. Instagram is a social connection platform. The main reason that you're on there or that people are on there is actually just to connect with other humans. If we really want to learn something, we'll go to YouTube or to Google. And while we do use Instagram as a source of information, it's more about to learn about other inspiring humans and pick up tips from them. And stories is really where you have your most dedicated, almost inner circle of followers. They're the ones that actively like your feed, and the people that watch your stories are the people who will actually be served up content from you in the algorithm. So yes, some of them might be your friends and family, but if someone is following your stories on a regular basis, it's kind of showing that they have a deeper interest than just maybe catching one or two tips from your reels along the way. And when you're using stories effectively, it can be really helpful when it comes launch time or sales time to boost and market your offers.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, that makes sense. So my approach was always and I don't do it. That's the thing. I find it so much easier to create a polished video, post it, and then kind of expect that to do the job. But it's the stories almost needs to be like your own reality TV show, right? So how do you balance, selling? Can you just do hard selling? Hey, here's my offer. Buy now, click this link, or do you have a softer approach? How do you do that sales process on stories?
I mean, it would be the same strategy that I would use for any sales. I would never go hard sell because no one wants cold DMs and no one wants that kind of strategy anymore. We're much more savvy. But I was reading something, an article the other day. I think it's Sprout Social, one of the marketing platforms, and they're saying, I think it's about 83% of marketers use stories as a main way to drive conversion. And the reason that stories are so great is, like you said, they are the behind the scenes. They are the unpolished versions. And there is a big trend right now where people are more interested in the unpolished version. That's why TikTok is so popular as well. People are very excited to see a little bit of the messier side. And if you can show that, even in your day-to-day experiences, when it comes time to sell, you can take them through a sequence that allows you to drop a link and help you click into an offer. It can drop you, to a landing page or things like that. But it helps them feel like it's their choice clicking on the link rather than just being forced down their throat. And especially if you can weave stories in a story, like it suggests, and you can blend it in with a little bit of an experience you had in your day, or you went to the gym and a realization you had while you were lifting there, and connect it in, then it just helps people feel like that they link all the pieces together. They feel like they're included in your thought process, and they actually feel like they're having a conversation with you, even though it's quite one way. one of the things about stories that's really helpful is it's the way that people can engage with you most easily, but with the least amount of effort. So even in DMs, it's still a conversation back and forth, unless it's automated. But with stories, people can, if you put a sticker up, people can double tap on the sticker, people can react on a poll. It's a way for them to engage with you, but it doesn't feel like it takes a lot of effort. But you can still start to read back into it and understand their preferences of what they need and what they like seeing from you.
How did you get all of these calls booked, and how did you make these sales? Like, what were the actual things? Like, what were the best performing stories, would you say? Like, what hit and what missed?
So I just did the post-launch kind of drop today and like all of the data for my own. And so I think over the course of almost a month, 4 weeks that I was kind of within the launch period, it was a long launch, I posted about 42 stories, and most of them were in sequences. So I'd probably post like 3 stories, and then the last story would have a link to it, or maybe 4 stories. And most of them were almost just like little explanations or sneak peeks or stories about what I was going through that day. One of the stories that got a lot of click-throughs was actually I was posting, the week that we moved into here, I got sick, and I was posting maybe 4 days later being like, I've been really sick, and it made me realize like some people feel like that they're in this amount of pain all the time, and I'm sick so rarely, and I feel if it can, really impact my mental health just from being sick for a few days, how much more is it if people are always in pain? Of course, they're not going to be the best version of themselves. So like, just remember that, like, it was a message to say like, you need to share your offers with others more than you know. But I linked it back into my offer, and I'm like, if you don't know how to do that, I can help you. Here's a link. That was a post that did really well. And then just some of the other like sharing of my experiences of like when I started out doing what I do in the coaching industry, in the yoga wellness industry, I really struggled. I spent a lot of time trying to find my way through. And I kind of like shared out some of the difficulties that I was going through, and that had a lot of click through as well, because I could speak from a perspective that a lot of people are in right now. Those are normally the ones that do best, and the ones that don't have like pretty pictures attached.
What the fuck? That's so funny. That's so crazy. So you literally you gave a story about the time you were ill, and that got sales. Wow, that's crazy. See, like that's the mistake I'll make sometimes. I have like all these awesome graphics and this super polished video and a big call to action, and people maybe are turned off a bit by that, especially on stories, as that's meant to be like the portal into your life. So that's a pretty awesome little golden nugget there, guys, is around sharing your story, and then once you tell the story, you give the point, or you incite them to take some action. Because generally, if someone's reading that story, when they get to the bottom of that story, that's someone who's flipping engaged, right? No random person's just going to be reading everything. So I've always found that anytime I've told a nice story, like you advised me to in my caption, and then there's a call to action at the bottom of the caption, those people are like, they come through, and it's like, wow, okay, so people actually read the stories that you tell. Now, last question, because I don't want this to go too long, but what advice would you give to all of us around how to approach stories? Do you think it's a daily thing? Do you think it's a every other daily thing? And do we just need to be telling stories, or is it just pictures? Like, what if you could summarize your advice to us, the Creation Oasis, us students? Tell us.
Stories should play a part of your strategy. By strategy, it doesn't mean that everything has to be created in advance, but just knowing that you do need to put effort into it, like you would your posts or your captions. I would say the thing that really helped me is just to give myself a challenge to film or photograph 4 pieces of content for stories daily. Not that I'll use them all, but wherever I'm at, I just look around and I'm like, can I take a picture or a little video of this? And I might not even use it on the day, but maybe 2 days later, I will post it about like the beach that we were at surfing and relate it back to, something that we're talking about then. And I wouldn't say let stories take you out of the moment you're experiencing. For example, if you're at a concert, take a picture of the concert, but then put your phone away and put the caption or whatever text you want later on and just experience the moment for what it is. I always recommend any filming that you do, film from your camera, not from Instagram or TikTok or whatever platform you use. Your camera is the best quality, so use the back camera from there. Definitely use stickers and engagement polls and things like that. Just think of it as a two-way conversation. You're starting a conversation with your clients, so like, how can you get them to respond to you? And they can drop into your DMs, or they can, send you an emoji if they want a little extra piece or a PDF or a freebie from you, and things like that. Definitely film 4 times a day if you can. And it's not like you need a cadence of once a day or every other day or anything like that. It depends on the rhythm that you post in your actual feed. But I would say definitely be posting on stories more than you post on your feed. So if you're posting on your feed 3 times a week, try to post on your stories 4 or 5, because more people will observe your stories than they will your captions.
Gold. One thing that reminds me of is Gary Vee, I think he said, is document, don't create, which is an interesting thing. It's like document your life, like just get your phone out, film some cool stuff. But, this is almost a challenge to you guys, is can you try and create something every day? And when I say create something, can you pull your phone out, open the camera and take a picture of something that's going on? Can you do that on a daily basis? Because what's going to end up happening is when you do apply this social media strategy to post stories and to create reels, you're going to have an awesome library of content that you can draw from. And one thing that I'm still getting my head wrapped around is we're running personal brands. So in order to run a personal brand, you have to be personable, and you actually do have to show people what's going on behind the scenes, the lifestyle you're living. Because remember that you need to be the shining example of your products, your courses, and what you're selling, okay? So if you're selling a lifestyle, what does your lifestyle look like? If you're selling personal training, what does your body look like, You don't want to be the fat personal trainer, and you don't want to be the dentist with smelly breath. All right. Any closing remarks?
One thing I would say about stories, just remember that actually, Instagram is not an audio-first platform. So if you are speaking on stories, make sure you put on captions, because most people will observe or read your stories without captions. If you're putting on text, make sure it's actually legible so people read through it. And don't try to be fancy, just like you're having a conversation. It's BTS, it's raw, it can be a little bit messy. Just be okay being a little bit imperfect on stories, because it'll help people relate to you more.
Bosh.